Broadcasting live. It's America's longest running talk show on computers. It's Computer America, bringing you the biggest names in technology with guest interviews, new products, and your emails. Listen live at computeramerica.com on any device around the world. Email the show at live@computeramerica.com or find us on social media. Be sure to check out our website for contests, giveaways, show notes, live video stream, podcasts, and more. You're listening to Computer America.
Hello and welcome everyone into the Computer America Show. We are the nation's longest running nationally syndicated radio talk show on computers and technology. And ladies and gentlemen, one's computer should not be like a car and be like, I hear a knocking, I hear a noise. Maybe I should check that out, but as long as it keeps running, we're okay. No, you should get that checked out. But first, we have to record the show, so everything's going to hold together, I promise. Everyone, welcome into the Computer America Show. I hope that you're doing well and you are ready for the show today, because today on the show, we have our science and tech trends correspondent, Mr. Ralph Bond, and we are going to talk about a bunch of different stories that, hey, you might have missed. These are really, really fun stories, and you're definitely going to want to stick around and learn more about them. So, with that being said, let's go ahead and just say computeramerica.com is where you will find everything, including the show notes, past shows, future shows, articles. You will find, the podcast. You will find the videos, anything and everything that you need to know for the program in one easy spot. We even have a section dedicated to Ralph Bond at the top of the page. So, all that being said, let's go ahead, bring Ralph on, and just have fun with it. So, once again, science and tech trends correspondent, longtime contributor, and hey, really, really fun guy, Ralph. Ralph, how you been?
Doing okay, and what a crazy news week it's been, man, I'll tell you. And if you're new to the show, either watching us on YouTube or as a podcast, welcome. Let's explain what Ben and I do every week. Every Friday, we look at 4 articles that show us key trends and developments in all things science and tech, including, of course, almost every single story includes artificial intelligence. But we look at the whole spectrum: robotics, medical technology, sustainable energy technology, transportation advances, agricultural tech, construction tech, space research, physics, on and on. But most important of all, especially this week, we're going to give you hope for a better future thanks to the amazing breakthroughs happening every single day in the world of science and technology.
Absolutely. And I think story number 1 really kind of highlights something that may be in everyone's day-to-day lives. I'm sure you read articles all the time about AI, but a lot of these, Ralph, I've even seen like there's a pretty sizable, and we can talk about this just for a second, but there's a fairly sizable chunk of people that are rightly concerned. AI has its downfalls, pitfalls, drawbacks, all that stuff. But there's people out there that are like, AI is awful. It needs to go away as a technology. It needs to go. And people are scared about, being replaced at their jobs for data centers, water, electricity. There's privacy. There's so much to be concerned about, Ralph. But I got to say, just real quick between me and you, even if they had those firmly, and I'm not even calling them Luddites, because AI is such a disruptive technology that, being concerned is a normal reaction. I just don't see it as a realistic reaction. Do you see AI really going away? And then after that, we'll get into story number 1 about good use of AI.
No, it's definitely not going to go away. And it is probably the most astonishing challenge human beings have faced is where do we go with this? And you and I spend every Friday usually bringing forward positive, uplifting, and interesting stories about the use of artificial intelligence and all kinds of things, particularly medical technology. But I don't discount the fact that there's a lot of disruptive and scary stuff out there. Deep fakes. That recent video where Brad Pitt and Tom Cruise are fighting each other, and you would swear, you would have no idea at all unless someone told you that was a fake, that it was AI generated. So now when I look at stories online, news stories, I'm very often going to one of the AI agents like ChatGPT or Gemini or Copilot and saying, here's this headline, is this true? And a lot of times now I'm finding out, no, that comes from someone gossip website or some inflammatory, right or left wing extreme, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
So you got to be careful.
One got me this week. It was a group of dogs going down a highway in China, and it was like a homeward bound situation that they described.
Okay.
Although, Ralph, what was fun about that was it was just classic fake news, where it was just a real video, but it was a fake background that kind of made it go viral on social media.
Yeah.
And but then people used AI to generate. They said essentially they took a screenshot of this video and said, AI generate another video with these dogs from another angle, and then those videos went viral, and those were fake, which just goes to show the ability for AI to take something seemingly true and then turn it into a bunch of not true. It was very strange, but But hey, to refocus us a little bit, all that conversation happens every day, I'm sure, in people's houses. We have other conversations to have, and let's talk about story number 1, Ralph.
Well, yeah. In fact, one last comment though.
Please.
Speaking to my sister just the other day, and we were talking about deepfake artificial intelligence generated robocalls, and how if somebody can record your son or daughter's voice or your wife or whomever,
or your favorite podcast host and co-host,
there you go.
How would they get hours of audio of us, Ralph?
Well, there it is. And so they could come at you with a fake phone call. Grandma, I'm in jail. Can you help me? And send money and that sort of thing. And my sister said, with her kids, they're all grown, of course, we have a safe word. So she would say to the robocall, what's our safe word? And if the robocall doesn't know the safe word, bingo, it's a bogus call. So there's a little tip I thought was kind of a good idea.
A family password. I like that.
Family password. Yeah. And change it often.
There you go. And perfectly legit. Just signs of the time that we live in. But
sad but true.
Hopefully you don't need a password for this one, where we're looking for lost items, and not lost kids, but lost items.
Yes. This is a great opening story and a good example of a positive AI situation. Okay, it comes from techexplore.com. Come to the show notes. We have the links. We have a link to a video. All this good stuff. You can learn more if you want to. But the headline here is AI search robot uses 3D maps and internet knowledge to find lost items. Oh boy, do I need this robot in my house. Where are my glasses? What did I do with the car keys? I'm serious. That goes on all the time with me. In the show notes, if you come out and look at this, you'll see a picture of this camera apparatus. It's on a pole. It goes around the floor and so forth. And there's another image that shows where it's scanning the environment and making point clouds and so forth. You can take a look at that. But let's get into the story. Researchers at the Technical University of Munich in Germany, of course, have created a robot that can locate lost items on command. It combines knowledge from the internet with a spatial map of its surroundings to efficiently find the objects being sought. The new robot from the university's Learning Systems and Robotics Lab looks like a broomstick on wheels, kind of, with a camera, actually a couple of camera devices mounted at the top. And it's one of the first robots that not only integrates image understanding, but also applies it to a clearly defined task. Now, here's how it works. To find, for example, oh boy, this really resonated with me. To find, for example, a pair of glasses misplaced in the kitchen, the robot first looks around and builds a three-dimensional image of the room. And that's shown very well in the video that Ben's giving us right now, and also in the show notes still image. And so see the video. That's incredibly important to understand what's going on. The camera initially provides two-dimensional images, but these pixels also contain depth information. This creates a spatial map of the environment that is accurate to the centimeter and is constantly updated. That's what's so interesting in the video, shows that later when the team goes in and changes the location of items in the kitchen, and the robot has to go around and deal with ever-changing situations. The laptop incorporated with this also provides the robot with information about which objects are visible in the image and what significance they have for humans. So it's going through and saying, the glasses, that's important. This cup, not so much important. There's sort of a hierarchy, which I think is fascinating. Really cool stuff, Ben, and that video is really compelling.
Yeah, I was looking at that, and honestly, some of the technology, I've actually seen some of this in happening in real time with which, the video at one point kind of shows the base of it, and it's just on wheels. It's not, but it looks a lot like a robot vacuum. And I've actually seen this, Ralph. Our robot vacuum that we got a couple of weeks ago actually uses like this exact technology. And this has multiple points, so it has depth sensing with multiple cameras, and they're using it in a different way, Ralph. But I've seen it myself, and it is so accurate. Like,
I know
it maps things within to like an inch of where it is. So to see it used for another purpose, this is like a perfect use of that technology.
I think so too. And your robo vacuum analogy is right on target. That we have one of those too, and it's fascinating to watch this thing. Anyway, a lead researcher noted, quote, "We have taught the robot to understand its surroundings. Humanoid robots working in factories or robots in care sittings in private homes require this newly developed basic understanding, which is important for all robots that move in spaces that are constantly changing." That's the key, spaces that are constantly changing. Now, your vacuum robot, mine as well, plotted out the whole first floor of the house. We have one upstairs too, but plots the whole first part of the house. And generally speaking, it's going to deal with a static kind of understanding of the environment. Now, it may encounter unexpected objects and it moves around it and so forth, but this level of changing objects and the ability to deal with it is on an order of magnitude higher with this technology we're talking about.
Yeah, the one that I have, it does detect like the dog is laying here. Let's not suck the dog into the vacuum, and it'll come back later and go over the spot where the dog was. But like, it has no idea of what the dog is. It's just an object is in this area. And it will, kind of flag it as, we'll come back later and try it again. But this technology, very similar, but then it says, oh, this is probably what it is. And that ability to identify an item, not just detect an item, but to identify it, takes us to another level.
Exactly right. Yeah. So another special capability of the robot is that it remembers previous images and is able to compare them with new images of its surroundings. If a new object suddenly appears in the kitchen, it recognizes the change with a high degree of certainty, as in 95%, and marks these areas as highly probable search locations. In other words, go and find my glasses, and it goes into an environment and goes, wait a minute, that wasn't there before. That might be the glasses. That's what they're talking about. And the research team says the next development, where are they going to go with this? The next step is to teach the robot, augmented with robotic arms and hands, to search for objects that are in a drawer or behind a door. And to do this, however, the robot will not merely have to draw on knowledge from the internet, but will also have to interact with its surroundings. And before I forget, by the way, folks, if you come out to computeramerica.com, get the show notes, when you see blue text in the show notes, that represents things I've added or inserted into the article, either to explain technology or to just add a little more explanation.
Right. Yeah, and even thinking about this, Ralph, this week there was a scene where the First Lady came down to a presentation where she was being escorted by a robot. And just so everyone out there knows, this technology seems so futuristic, Ralph, like the pace of change is so quick that we're like, oh my God, they're already doing that. But this article highlighted, it'll be able to search in drawers and behind doors. And it goes to show, we're not as far as you think. Like, the robot with the First Lady, that was piloted by someone behind a curtain in the White House. Yes, it was a fully functioning robot, but someone was piloting it as well. Yeah. So, it's like, it's quick, it's fast, things are changing, but the technology is not perfect yet. It's still improving by leaps and bounds, and it can still get better.
Yeah, well, I think, and to finish up with this first article, the idea of a robot for in-home care situations could be so helpful. Can you imagine if you're perhaps disabled or something and you're bedridden or whatever, and you're able to say to the robot,
or if you're just lazy and you don't want to do the dishes or the laundry. Yeah.
Go and find those glasses. Where the heck are they?
Yeah, go load the dishwasher. Ralph, I promise you, I've had this conversation with people in my life. As soon as there is a robot that is I'm sure everyone would have their price point, but as soon as it can do dishes and laundry and trash, there will be lines around buildings for these robots. It's to do these just everyday kind of household chores.
Here's what I'd like. I'd like a robot that's willing to go under the trees deep in the back of my yard and get up the dog poop.
That might be way down the line, but they're working on it.
Yeah, I'm sure they are.
So there you go. Story number one. Story number two. And, batteries, Ralph, we've said this for a long time.
Yes.
There's a lot of downfalls with batteries that need improvement. And one of them is it just doesn't taste like tofu enough. So I think story number two cures that.
Yes, here we go. A battery for vegans.
Absolutely.
I could not resist this story. It comes from techspot.com. Irresistible headline. Get ready. Tofu brine could power safer batteries that last decades, researchers say. Subhead, a new neutral electrolyte battery survives more than 120,000 cycles without fire risk. Irresistible headline. Gotta know more. Check it out. We have the show, of course, in the show notes, we have the link to the article. We also have a link to the research paper. These research papers are fascinating in their own right. Okay, here we go. A mixture most people associate with tofu production could soon help make safer, longer-lasting aqueous, that's AQUEOUS batteries. And we're going to explain what that means a bit later in the show notes here. So researchers from the City University of Hong Kong and Southern University of Science and Technology have built a water-based, that's aqueous, power cell that runs on tofu brine, the mineral-rich solution left behind after pressing soy curds. I didn't know much about the production of how they make the little soy cubes I get at my local Chinese restaurant, but that's how it's done. It's through this kind of pressing process.
There's like a big box and a big press, and they squeeze it, and all this water comes gushing out. Which I guess I never really considered, Ralph. What happens to that water after? I guess down the drain, I thought. But
probably. Yeah. So the design replaces the complex flammable chemistry of lithium-ion batteries with an electrolyte that's as safe as salt water. Wow. So a little side note I inserted in blue text. An electrolyte is any substance that produces charged particles, ions, when it dissolves in water, allowing the solution to conduct electricity. It can refer to both chemical electrolytes like salts, acids, and bases, and the essential charged minerals your body uses to function. Imagine that. The reference to salts, by the way, you and I have talked about in the past research into the field of sodium-based batteries, right? So going on here, in lab tests, the prototype battery endured more than 120,000 charge cycles. Wow, an endurance record that far exceeds today's commercial standards. Typical electric vehicle batteries degrade after just a few thousand cycles. Even long-duration grid systems seldom survive beyond 10,000 cycles. So keep that in mind. We're talking 120,000 charge cycles. We're talking about something that's based on tofu brine, which turns out to be mineral rich. Who knew?
To be able, and obviously a lab testing is not real world testing, but these numbers, even if they're half of what they are finding in the lab, are still astounding.
I just love it. And at the core of the project lies a concept the City University of Hong Kong and the Southern University of Science and Technology team calls organic electrodes, which interact with a neutral, non-toxic liquid medium, the tofu brine. By maintaining a stable pH, this electrolyte avoids the electrochemical breakdown that limits most aqueous batteries. So they've known about water-based, liquid-based batteries, but this was a breakthrough in making them go beyond the heretofore limits. And in the show notes, if you want to come out and check this out, I have a side note, more information about what is an aqueous battery. And of course, pH, you can have a little reminder there of what that's all about. But here we go. The result is a cell that is neither flammable nor caustic, a stark contrast to lithium-ion counterparts known for fire hazards when damaged or overheated, as well we know. And because the tofu brine system uses benign ingredients, it could simplify end-of-life handling and lessen environmental damage from discarded batteries. Ta-da! I love it.
And also extend the end of life of tofu and tofu water. So,
yay!
As always, Ralph, just turning a simple waste product into a useful product, always an important part of what we do, or what scientists are trying to do. I'm not doing anything. I just make waste products. But all of this combined, Ralph, it really, in early research, I'm sure that there's limitations. If I had to guess, there are limitations in the amount of energy stored. I'm sure it can do cycles and all that kind of thing, but it doesn't say anything about the amount it could store.
Yeah.
But still, if they are able to turn something basic like this into a usable functional battery in some system, not all systems, not everyone's getting tofu batteries, but hey, it's going to take a little bit of everything to get our arms around this whole energy crisis that we're having. So,
and you know what, Ben? This reminds me that, friends, what we do is we look often at things that are early research, that are breakthroughs that are being announced to the world through research papers and that sort of thing. They're not in the market right now. It may be 10 years or more, or 10 years before something like this comes out. But it's important to remember that this is where we're going with encouraging news about developments in research.
Right, absolutely. So speaking of encouraging, we're going to, we talked a little bit in story number 2. 2 about, story number 1. I'm sorry. Wow, time's flying. Story number 1 about a 3D tracking robot. Yes. Well, what if we gave it 4D? There you go.
Yes.
That's the trick. I don't even know what 4D is, but we're going to get into a vision chip for robots. And this one is, I guess, adding a new dimension, adding a new dimension to the story.
Yes. No, it's really great. This comes from one of my favorite go-to websites, interestingengineering.com. Great website, folks. If you're not familiar with it, check it out. Headline, new 4D vision chip can help robots, drones track distance and speed of moving objects. And the subhead is, researchers have developed a new 4D imaging sensor on a single silicon chip that overcomes the limitations of standard bulky 3D sensors. Wow. Okay, that's a mouthful. There's a lot going on here. This is pretty geeky, but a lot of fun. So check it out. Here we go. Researchers at Point Cloud, and Point Cloud is a Zurich-based technology company specializing in advanced 3D and 4D imaging sensors, have created a 4D imaging sensor that fits on a single silicon chip. Now, you're going to find out this technology has been around, but it's been to date had to be implemented in fairly bulky and expensive gear to do this. Now, side note, we really need this. I needed this. What the heck? 4D? What's that? Well, 4D means, in this technology we're talking about, 4D equals 3D space plus time/motion. In this article, 4D imaging refers to a system that captures the 3D shape and position of objects in space and the instantaneous speed or velocity of those objects. And as we mentioned before, this technology was previously too large and expensive for everyday devices, meaning to implement this capability required a box or a device that was just too bulky and too expensive for real deployment, or widespread deployment, I should say. And here's what the chip actually does. It maps the 3D physical environment and measures the instantaneous speed of every object it sees, if the objects are moving, of course, right? And this is made possible by, it's going to get geeky, folks, real geeky. And you can come out to the show notes. I've inserted more explanatory information, but this is made possible by frequency modulated continuous wave LiDAR. Wow. Combined with frequency modulated continuous wave LiDAR combined with a focal plane array of 61,952 stationary pixels. Okay. come to the show notes. You can find out what frequency modulated continuous wave LiDAR is all about. And you can find out about what a focal plane array is, too, with two-dimensional grid of light sensing pixels. Okay. Come to the show notes if you want to dig deeper. But how does this frequency modulated continuous wave LiDAR differ from today's LiDAR, regular good old LiDAR? Most drones use pulsed LiDAR, which sends bursts of light and waits for them to return. And the units tend to be bulky, and they are velocity blind. It can't measure speed. It must compare frames. That's today's, usual widely deployed LiDAR. Now, this new chip uses a continuous laser beam, enabling real-time speed detection of objects, more compact hardware, lower cost, and higher performance. And why does this matter? Well, this could power autonomous drones, robots, and future smartphones, and it brings high-speed, low-cost, compact 4D imaging much closer to mainstream use. So again, 4D capable on a chip. Wow.
Yeah, and they even have a little, I would say video, but I can't really control it. But if you're watching the video portion, they have a gentleman sitting there on a sofa, and then you can see him kind of turn his head, stand up, and kind of turn as he's kind of doing it. And you can see the actual
great video.
Yeah. The pixels kind of change and measure as he's kind of going. Very impressive. I'm genuinely impressed by how the continuous stream of information really shows what they can do with this technology. And if they're able to do it for a lot cheaper, Ralph, I mean, that's why we don't have these systems on top of everyone's car right now, is because it costs $100,000, just for that one piece of hardware. But Ralph, if this were able, if we were able to put this in on everyone's car for, $1,000, a couple thousand, whatever it may be,
or less,
this could save everyone's life when it comes to car accidents, car crashes, pedestrian accidents. This technology is sorely needed. It's just, we got to get the price down, and they're doing it.
Yeah.
Very, very cool. So if you want to see that, also, I'll throw that link in the show notes as well when we post this. That was from the Point Cloud website. That's the researchers who...
the company that's involved with this. Yeah, very cool stuff.
Yep. We'll throw that in there as well. So story number 3, and we're going to go ahead and jump now down to story number 4. And this one, hey, medical. We'll talk about that. But this one may predict Alzheimer's. And that's always an important part is, getting to treatments early and getting the condition early helps longevity. So Ralph, story number 4.
Yeah, time and time again over the past several years, Ben, we've had wonderful stories about advancements in research regarding Alzheimer's, mostly in the field of treatment, not detection, early detection. So this is a great, great news nugget, and this will leave you in an uplifted spirit, I think, at the end of this terrible news week. This comes from sciencealert.com. Headline, blood test clock can predict Alzheimer's symptoms before they emerge. Wow. We have a link, of course, to the research paper. Very important story here. And by the way, friends, if you're new to the show, we usually end our 4th story with something from the medical technology world. So researchers at Washington University in St. Louis have developed a predictive model, a kind of biological clock that estimates when Alzheimer's symptoms will begin. It uses established blood biomarkers, making it far more accessible than brain scans or spinal fluid tests. Boy, anything that avoids a spine tap has got my vote.
I hear those are infamously uncomfortable. So
yeah. And in past shows, we've talked about blood biomarkers. This is a field that's very, very important in medical science right now. So a side note, I will give you this one. A blood biomarker is a measurable substance in your blood that signals what's happening inside your body, whether normal, stressed, or related to a disease. These markers can reflect risk, early disease, active disease, or response to treatment. And they're widely used in modern medicine. So let's get into this more deeply here. So levels of the blood biomarker called protein P-tau 217, that's P as in Paul, -TAU, and the number 217, So levels of the blood biomarker protein p-tau217 in the blood strongly correlate with Alzheimer's progression. And I have a side note about good old p-tau217 if you're interested in learning more about that. But tracking this marker helps narrow the predicted onset of cognitive symptoms to a 3 to 4 year window. Wow. Okay.
Because my understanding of just detecting this, it's like, oh, you might get it, and you might start seeing these signs. Like, I don't know. There's not even like a definitive way until it's like, okay, you are testing positive for this. But to be able to give you even just a couple of years to start preparing and getting the proper preventative treatment as well, stepping that up, really, really important.
Yeah, and here's something I did not know. There's most of the world I don't know. But anyway, why this matters. Well, Alzheimer's biological changes, can begin 10 to 30 years before symptoms appear.
I didn't know that.
Oh, wow. Okay. Understanding this timeline helps researchers study the disease more effectively and may eventually guide personalized care plans. Key trend we've seen time and again, Ben, in medical technology is personalized treatments, personalized diagnostics, and that sort of thing. And this is a great example of that. In the near term, the tool is expected to improve research in clinical trials by identifying people likely to develop symptoms sooner, to get this ID sooner. And the long-term goal, give individual patients a clearer sense of when symptoms may emerge, enabling earlier planning and potential interventions. Well, I rest my case. I hope we leave you this week on an uplifted note.
Yeah, it's I would say that is, and Alzheimer itself, such a bummer. But at the same time, to be able to, delay it and deal with it and, hey, make it a more manageable disease, that is always a positive. So,
yes.
Ralph, amazing story number 4. Great medical news out there, which story number 4 traditionally is. So, with that being said, if you have been following along in the show notes, which you can find those by the time that you are hearing this, you may notice, well, there's only, another, 4 or 6 pages left of stories, and yet the show is about to wrap up. That means that if you want to come out to computeramerica.com, you can find the show notes, and down there at the bottom, you'll find even more stories that we just don't have time because we're trying to make the show a bit more succinct. But these are great stories, uplifting. You should hear about them. You should know about them. And yeah, Ralph, we can at least give them the headlines so that when they come out, they know what to look for. So at the bottom of the show notes, honorable mentions, and yeah, here are those stories.
Here you go, honorable mentions. We're just going to give you the headlines and the source and check it out. First one comes from Popular Mechanics. Headline: Scientists mixed dead leaves with magnesium and created a super metal. What?
I'm guessing they just rubbed them together, right? That's how they did that.
I'm sure there's more involved in that, but still, imagine that. I love the idea of waste materials. Ben, on and on again, we've seen this theme or trend of waste materials like the tofu brine being used for something meaningful. Dead leaves and magnesium equals super metal. Go figure that one out. It's great. Check that story out. Next one from ETHzurich. Headline: Turning sawdust, here we go, another waste product, turning sawdust into fire-resistant materials. And a long subhead here: what is usually burned to generate energy today could protect houses tomorrow. Researchers at ETHzurich and EMPA have found a way to press sawdust with a mineral binder to create a robust, flame-retardant material. And it's even recyclable. Wow, check that one out. That's great. I love it too. I just love it. And the next one comes from Electrek. That's ELECTREK.com. Clever little turn of phrase. Headline: this one's really something. If I ever were to ride a motorcycle, this is what I need. The world's first self-balancing electric motorcycle is now entering production. So I might be able to ride this thing because it's going to keep me upright.
A couple of years ago, I was able to actually see this technology. It wasn't in a motorcycle. I want to say it was in like a bicycle, or maybe it was a motorcycle.
Scooter or something, maybe, yeah.
Yeah, at CES, and they show the technology off, and it is amazing that, you cannot fall off this thing. It is wacky.
It's fascinating. I think I need that for my body. Okay, our last honorable mention comes from the Cool Down on MSN.com, and the story headline is "Cutting Edge Solar Panels Can Even Generate Electricity at Night, and Here's How They Work." You'll find out the technology is based on temperature differentials, and you're going, what? What do you mean it can generate electricity at night? Check this story out. Absolutely amazing stuff coming out of Stanford University. So, friends, come out to computeramerica.com, get the show notes, check out the video or the podcast, and we hope we leave you this week with feeling better about the future than what the current mainstream news cycle is all about.
Absolutely. No, these stories are all always so impressive, amazing, and, you know, even though we say that this is like early stuff and you may not see it for a while, Ralph, there are other stories that we've already seen hit the market. I'm thinking in particular about, it was like a sailboat that was able to, you know, be solar powered and use a special kind of wind catching device. Ladies and gentlemen, the point is this technology may seem off in the future, distant, but at the same time, it's coming to you soon, we promise. So with that being said, I want to thank you so much for tuning in and joining us, and Ralph, always, for putting this together. This always goes great. And ladies and gentlemen, computeramerica.com if you want to find these show notes. So until next time, Ralph, thank you so much. And everyone out there, have a great weekend. Do something fun. Catch you next time. Bye, everyone.